Welcome back, friends. In this video, we'll continue the previous one to some extent by adding a database role and then adding a user to the database role. So on the left side, expand my DBase, expand the security folder, and now take a look. There's a new folder called roles. Not a new folder, but I mean it's new in this lesson. Expand that folder and then expand where it says database roles. And we're going to add a new role, and then we will add users to the role. So right click on database roles and then go to new database role. We're going to define the role first. I hope you've got that. And now at the next stage here, let's give it a name. As a simple example, I will say select employees and insert customers. So that's the name of our role. For the owner, you can leave that blank. It doesn't matter too much. Under Securables, where it says select a page, click Securables, and then click Search. And then where it says Add Object, click again on the specific objects, OK. And for Select Objects, click Object Types. And then from there, select Tables. So we're going to secure a couple tables. And then click OK. So make sure where it says select these object types, you see tables, not something different. And then click Browse down below and select a couple tables. I am calling this role Select Employees, Insert Customers. So from here, I'm going to click on Customers and Employees, those two tables, and then click OK. So make sure that the Select Objects panel looks as shown here. And then click OK. And now we need to apply permissions to the objects. So with the customers selected in blue and under the Securables panel here, down below, well, let's see. This role is named Select Employees, Insert Customers. So select employees, I've got customers selected down below here, right, highlighted. So down below where it says permissions for customers for the table, I'm calling my role here Insert Customers. I'm going to select Insert. And the big idea with a role, of course, is you create it one time, and then you can add multiple users to that role. The benefit is you create the role once, and then whenever you add a user to it, that user has basically the same set of rules to follow as you specify when you create the role. So you're centralizing the rules that govern access to your resources. Okay, now select employees, and we called it select employees. So down below, select employees. So select as the row, and then under grant, choose a check mark for the employees table. And for the customers one, make sure you have insert check in the permissions panel. And then just click OK. Now the question is, how do we actually add a user to the role? What do we do? Well, take a look. We need to add a new user first. And we can do that by adding a login again. So take a look. I'm going to collapse this database roles node. I'm collapsing it, collapsing that one, collapse everything. We have the roles specified. So now collapse everything and go over to security. And then right click and let's add a new login. All right, again, I'm going to go here with Bob. SQL Server authentication, make a password for him, SA, or whatever you want to make up. This time, to shorten the process, just uncheck those boxes. Where it says enforce password policy, just uncheck that. We've already been through the consequences of checking those when we had to make the new password when we logged in. So uncheck for our purposes, and then down below under default database, switch to my DBase so it looks as shown here. All right, I hope you've got that. Now go to user mapping. Under select a page, go to user mapping, and then select my DBase. And notice the user says Bob, correct? And down below, you can now select also the database role for Bob. So I'm going to click on Select Employees, Insert Customers. And I've named the role this way, so when I log in using Bob's account, I will remember exactly what kinds of permissions he has. And then just click OK. So remember, login is created. Under user mappings, that login can be mapped to a specific user on a database object. And now that user is also added to a database role, and then just click OK. So take a look. On the left side, you have Bob as the login under this big security folder. Right, on the databases now, expand that, expand my DBase, expand security, expand users, and make sure you've got Bob also as a user, as shown here, under my DBase. And then further, expand database roles, scroll down, find the one we have just created, and right-click on it, and go to its properties. So we are going to the properties of the database role object, and make sure that here you have Bob as a member of this role. Okay, and now let's make use of all of this. Take a look. So I'm going to collapse all of the nodes on the left. We've been through them by now. Collapse, 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 and I'm going to log in using Bob's information. So click here, Connect Object Explorer. Again, SQL Server Authentication, correct. Login Bob. Password, at this time I type SA. And click Connect. And notice that I wasn't prompted to make a new password because I unchecked those little boxes that we configure when we make a login. I unchecked those. Very good. And now on the left side, make sure that you are logged in under Bob's account. So over here, make sure it says BOB Bob right there. And let's make a panel that connects to his account on the right side. So click New Query. And make sure on the bottom of the status bar in the yellow here it says Bob and not whatever the other account is. And now take a look. Well, expand databases, expand my DBase, expand tables. And the only tables visible to Bob are customers and employees, because Bob is a member of the role that controls access to those two tables. And let's see what he can do here. All right, so we're using the editor window under Bob's account, and I'll say use my DBase and then go. All right, commands completed successfully, very good. Keep in mind that if you look very carefully at the yellow status bar on the bottom, it says my DBase also. You see that? So I'm going to show you something. Close this panel for a second. Don't save that. All right, make a new query window. And notice on the bottom in the yellow status bar, it says, again, computer name, server name, username, Bob, and then it says my DBase. So, why am I stressing that? Because now that means the following. Even if you don't type my DBase go, the my DBase, as you can see there, you see that? Is like your default database context. It's present right there. You see it, my DBase. So I'm going to type select star from employees. Let's see whether that will work. Execute that, and that does work. You see, even without the my DBase go. And then further here, take a look. Imagine I try to type something like this, select star from customers. Notice that customers doesn't show even. And the reason is, remember that we set insert permissions in customers, not select permissions. So if you try to do something like this and execute, you're going to get an error that says the select permission was denied on that object. So customers table, database, my DBase, schema, DBO. It was denied. This is confirming that the permissions we created when we created the role are being applied correctly to Bob's account. Otherwise, we could do things here. All right, I'm going to leave it here. You may want to now, as an exercise, just disconnect his account and then delete his information from the logins folder and the users folder. But I'm going to leave it here. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.